Title of this episode, UF Soda Fountain Girls, Aprons, Bergebos, and TC Joy. Today we celebrate feminine beauty in this theme and era. Expressed through style, elegance, posture, and presence. Picture the scene, 1954, Main Street, America, where young women behind soda fountain counters became the heartbeat of small-town social life. These weren't just service jobs. They were stages where feminine grace met genuine hospitality, creating moments of pure joy that entire communities treasured. What made these women so unforgettable wasn't just their radiant smiles or perfectly tied aprons. It was how they transformed a simple ice cream social into theater. How they made every customer feel like the most important person in the room. And how they embodied an optimism that defined an entire decade. In 1953, Woolworths employed over 40,000 soda fountain attendants nationwide. Most of them young women who became local celebrities in their own right. The 1950s soda fountain represented more than refreshment, it was America's living room. And these young women were its gracious hostesses. Post-war prosperity had created a culture hungry for sweetness, both literal and figurative. Families had money to spend on simple pleasures again. And teenagers finally had their own social currency. The soda fountain became the crossroads where these worlds met. Presided over by young women who understood instinctively that they were selling more than sundaes. They were selling happiness itself. The look began with the uniform, but oh, what these women did with those uniforms. The classic soda fountain dress of 1950 featured a pleated bodice that celebrated the natural feminine in silhouette without ever crossing into immodesty. These weren't the severe, utilitarian garments of wartime, they were designed to flatter. The bodice would button up the front with mother of pearl or white plastic buttons, each one perfectly aligned, creating a clean vertical line that drew the eye upward to the wearer's bright, welcoming face. Over this foundation came the apron, and here was where personality truly shone. The standard issue white cotton apron was just the beginning. Some establishments, like the famous Schraff's chain, provided aprons with delicate eyelet trim along the hem and pockets. Others featured small embroidered details, a cherry here, a soda glass there. That caught the light as the wearer moved behind the counter. The apron strings always tied in a perfect bow at the back. And the length was carefully calculated, long enough to protect the dress beneath, short enough to showcase the clean lines of the uniform skirt. The color palette was deliberately cheerful and spotless. Crisp white predominated, of course, white for cleanliness, white for innocence, white for the fresh start that America was enjoying. But many establishments introduced touches of color that became their signature. Howard Johnson's paired their white uniforms with bright orange accessories, creating an unmistakably optimistic combination that customers could spot from across the street. Local soda fountains might feature pale pink trim or soft mint green details, colors that whispered of the ice cream flavors waiting behind the glass. Hair was perhaps the most expressive element of the entire ensemble. The 1950s gave these young women permission to be both practical and glamorous, and they seized that opportunity with both hands. The ponytail became an art form, not the casual, thrown-together style we know today, but a carefully constructed creation that could withstand an 8-hour shift while still looking fresh for the evening rush. They would brush their hair until it gleamed, then gather it high on the crown of the head with a ribbon that perfectly matched their uniform's accent color. For those with shorter hair, the challenge was even greater, but the results were stunning. Soft curls were carefully arranged to frame the face, often held in place with bobby pins that had been wrapped in matching ribbon, or even painted with clear nail polish to catch the light. Some wore small white caps, a nod to nursing uniforms that reinforced the sense that these women were caregivers, tending to their community's need for sweetness and connection. The accessories told their own story of attention to detail that bordered on artistry. The 1950s soda fountain represented a unique moment when feminine beauty and professional skill converged in perfect harmony. The accessories told their own story of attention to detail that bordered on artistry. White Oxford shoes with low, practical heels were the foundation, polished until they gleamed like porcelain, with laces that were always perfectly white and evenly tensioned. Many of these young women would spend precious minutes each morning ensuring their shoelaces were tied in identical bows, understanding intuitively that customers noticed everything, even details that might seem insignificant. White ankle socks became a signature element, turned down in a neat cuff that created a clean line between shoe and leg. These weren't athletic socks. They were dress socks made from fine cotton or even silk blends. Another small luxury that spoke to the prosperity and optimism of the era. Some establishments encouraged their employees to wear small brooches or pins on their aprons, perhaps a tiny ice cream cone or a miniature soda glass, that sparkled as they moved and created conversation starters with regular customers. The culture surrounding these soda fountains created an entire social ecosystem where these young women were the undisputed stars. Every afternoon after school, the counter would fill with high school students nursing cherry cokes and chocolate malts. And the soda fountain girl became confidant, counselor, and social director all at once. She knew who was dating whom, who needed an extra cherry in their sundae because they'd had a rough day, and exactly how to make a banana split that would convince any boy to ask the girl beside him to the sock hop. Saturday afternoons brought families. And here these young women demonstrated their remarkable ability to shift gears without missing a beat. They would crouch down to eye level with a 6-year-old debating between vanilla and chocolate, their voices gentle and patient, making each child feel heard and important. Then they'd straighten up to serve that child's mother, effortlessly transitioning to the more sophisticated conversation that adult customers expected, perhaps recommending the new tropical fruit sundae that had just been added to the menu. Sunday evenings were special. That's when the church crowd would arrive after evening service, and the soda fountain would transform into something approaching elegant dining. These young women would slow their pace, speaking in more measured tones, treating each sundae like a small work of art. They understood that Sunday customers were there to extend the peaceful feeling of worship, and they adjusted their entire presence accordingly. The rituals of preparation were as important as the service itself. Each morning, these women would arrive early to arrange their station with the precision of a surgeon preparing for an important operation. Glass sundae dishes would be polished until they sparkled like crystal. Chrome fixtures would be buffed to mirror brightness. The ice cream display would be arranged with mathematical precision, each flavor perfectly scooped and level, creating a rainbow of possibilities that drew customers like a magnet. They developed their own secret techniques for creating the perfect ice cream scoop, the exact wrist motion that would produce a sphere rather than a lump, the way to warm the scoop in just right water so the ice cream would release cleanly. Many could prepare a banana split in under 90 seconds, but they made it look like a leisurely dance, each movement calculated to create anticipation and delight in their audience. The sensory memory of these spaces was intoxicating, the sweet vanilla scent that seemed to emanate from everywhere at once, the rhythmic sound of the milkshake mixer that became the heartbeat of the establishment, the gentle clink of spoons against glass dishes that created a percussion section for the day's social symphony. This feminine grace and professional excellence didn't happen in isolation. It was the result of training, practice, and a culture that valued both competence and charm in equal measure. The 1950s soda fountain girls created a legacy of feminine elegance that would influence American culture for decades to come. This feminine grace and professional excellence didn't happen in isolation. It was the result of training, practice, and a culture that valued both competence and charm in equal measure. Major chains like Woolworths and Cresques developed comprehensive training programs that taught these young women everything from proper posture behind the counter to the precise technique for creating the perfect foam on a chocolate malted. But the real education happened through mentorship. Experienced soda fountain girls would take newcomers under their wing, passing down not just technical skills, but the subtle art of reading customers and creating the perfect atmosphere for each moment. The influence of these women extended far beyond their local communities. Magazine photographers discovered that soda fountain scenes sold publications. And suddenly, these young women found themselves representing American youth and optimism in national advertising campaigns. Coca-Cola advertisements from 1955 frequently featured soda fountain girls, their bright smiles and crisp uniforms becoming synonymous with the brand's message of refreshment and happiness. Television shows began incorporating soda fountain scenes as shorthand for wholesome American values. And these real young women became the template for actresses playing similar roles. Fashion designers took notice too. The clean lines and practical elegance of soda fountain uniforms influenced mainstream dress design throughout the decade. Department stores began selling fountain frocks for everyday wear, dresses that borrowed the fitted bodice, full skirt, and cheerful color palette that had made these uniforms so appealing. Even formal wear began incorporating elements like the neat collar treatments and decorative apron details that had originated behind soda fountain counters. The economic impact was equally significant. These establishments became destination shopping, with families planning entire Saturday outings around a visit to their favorite soda fountain. The young women working these counters developed remarkable sales skills, able to upsell a simple ice cream cone to an elaborate sundae through pure enthusiasm and personal connection. Their genuine delight in the products they served was infectious, and their recommendations carried the weight of trusted friends rather than salespeople. Hollywood eventually caught on, and by 1956, soda fountain scenes had become essential elements in films about American teenage life. But the actresses playing these roles studied the real thing, spending time observing actual soda fountain girls to capture not just their appearance, but their distinctive combination of competence, warmth, and understated glamour. The three feminine signatures of this unforgettable look were unmistakable and enduring. First, there was the perfected ponytail, not casual or careless, but carefully constructed and maintained throughout the longest shifts, secured with ribbons that coordinated perfectly with uniform details, and never showing a single strand out of place. This wasn't just practical, it was a statement of pride in appearance that elevated the entire presentation. Second was the graceful service choreography. The way these women moved behind the counter with practiced efficiency that never looked rushed or mechanical. Every gesture from scooping ice cream to wiping down surfaces was performed with a fluidity that turned routine tasks into something approaching performance art. They could prepare multiple orders simultaneously while maintaining eye contact and conversation with each customer, making everyone feel attended to and important. Third was the authentic smile that radiated genuine pleasure in their work and in serving others. This wasn't the forced cheerfulness of corporate training programs, but real delight that came from understanding their role in creating small moments of happiness. These smiles were so genuine that customers often lingered long after finishing their orders, drawn by the warmth and positive energy that seemed to emanate from these remarkable young women. The enduring appeal of the 1950s soda fountain girl lies in her representation of a moment when feminine beauty, professional competence, and genuine service combined to create something truly magical. She embodied an optimism and grace that still resonates today, reminding us that true elegance comes not from elaborate decoration, but from taking pride in whatever role we choose to fill. In our current era of digital connections and automated service, her legacy whispers of a time when personal interaction was an art form, and feminine beauty was measured not just in appearance, but in the ability to make others feel valued and welcome. These women proved that any stage, even one as humble as a soda fountain counter, could showcase the very best of American feminine grace.